Hello, everybody. I'm Dominic, aka Mr. Hackathon, and today I will be giving you an introduction to building software without coding. Don't be alarmed. I know many of you are computer science students or within the computer science department or have some technical discipline that you're studying. No code and low code is not completely without coding at all. Often we can use code to extend the functionality of the tools, but we are going to have a really simple basis on building an AI application without coding. Before we get started into the no code ecosystem, we're going to go over a little bit of my own personal background. I started my journey 10 plus years ago when MySpace was one of the biggest social media platforms out. And MySpace actually had a feature where you can customize the layout of your profile using HTML and CSS. And this is what fascinated me about coding and learning how to code. I felt it as liberating. I felt it as a creative tool that can help me express myself, but also something that could help me generate revenue. At that time, at the school I went to, students were paying other students to create custom MySpace layouts, and I wanted to be one of those people getting paid. So part of my interest in technology, part of my interest in software was entrepreneurship, which is a lot of what I do today. Around that same time, Adobe had a product called Adobe Dreamweaver. I'm not sure if they still have it today, but this was their web development tool. And they had a tool that could allow you to build websites visually, again, without coding. And this was especially interesting to me around this time. I got sent to summer camps to learn this technology, and I found it really, really fascinating. The older I got, the less I actually started to do technology because I became an athlete. I was an international basketball player for the English national team here in the UK, where I live, and I got a scholarship to go to America and play basketball in America, where I became an architectural technologist. I studied architecture for 3 years and I studied construction for 2 years. And when I went to work as an engineer, I was doing drones, 3D printing, laser scanning, virtual reality, augmented reality. I was in this low code space where coding really helped my day to day job, and knowing how to technically execute really helped my day to day job, but I didn't necessarily have to. And this is what I loved because coding really and no code really helped me expand my possibilities while as an engineer. I later, and I still do this to this day, I create a lot of TikTok content about no code, about low code, and I create content for brands. I partner with communities and I create content and learning paths for their community. And I also been through accelerators and incubators myself. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about why no code even exists, the different technology stacks within no code, different careers in no code, and communities in the no code space. Before I go on, I think I need to just close one of these tabs. Yeah, I'll close this tab. If anyone has any questions, please let me know. Just raise your hand at any time or just unmute yourself and ask a question. I can't actually see you, so I don't know who's got their hand up and I can't see the chat dialog box. A little bit about the history of creating software. Traditionally, software has been very expensive to create in terms of servers, in terms of the knowledge, in terms of just everything associated created with software, every associated with creating software, and it has been a specialist skill. So people have had to spend many, many years learning how to create software, and it's not just writing code; it's how to deploy applications, it's how to secure applications. There's all these different processes that are associated with creating applications, and it's been very, very time consuming. Fortunately, those costs have significantly decreased over time, and now a wave of tools are coming in that can allow you to develop Chrome extensions, native applications, SaaS products without coding or using minimal code. That gets into what no code actually means. No code is just an umbrella term used to describe products that enable people to create software with minimum coding ability. So some tools you don't need to code at all. Some tools allow you to import code. Some tools allow you to export code. Some tools allow you to use JavaScript scripts inside their platforms. So it really depends on the tool. Today, at the end of this presentation, we're going to actually build a real AI application in real time. And the tool I will be using doesn't actually let you import code or export code. And I'm using this tool because it's easy for beginners to understand. Technology stacks. One of the most popular website builders is WordPress. I believe the statistics say that it powers around 80% of the world's websites today, which is an enormous amount. Fortunately for us, there's not just WordPress. There are many other tools that allow you to build websites without coding, such as Webflow, such as Bubble. You may have heard of Wix. You may have heard of Squarespace. There's lots of tools that allow you to build websites without coding. And in the next slide, you'll see what careers you can actually build from that today or next week or next month. But you don't have to wait a long time to start building websites for clients. Automation tools. Traditionally, if you wanted to do web scraping, if you wanted to collect data from the internet, you would have to use something like Python. Fortunately, in today's day, businesses can automate processes, they can automate web scraping if they want, using tools like Make or Zapier or Parabola. In today's tutorial, we'll be using a product called Make, and this is what we're going to use to tie together different services and our application. Virtual and augmented reality. If you're familiar with Instagram, if you're familiar with TikTok or Snapchat, they all have augmented reality filters inside them, but you can actually make those filters. And in making those filters, you can add complex logic visually, or if you want to go a step further, you can actually create JavaScript scripts to create custom functionality. Gaming. Many people love to come up with gaming ideas, and creating games is getting easier. You can use tools like FlowLab, use tools like BuildBox, or even Unity has extensions that allow you to create games without coding inside the Unity platform. If you've been fascinated with Web3 over the last couple of months, you can create smart contracts without coding using tools like OpenZeppelin or Third Web. You can create marketplaces and e-commerce stores with Web3 using tools like MintGate. Many people will love to think about different chatbots ideas or voice applications. VoiceFlow and Lambot are great tools to actually create chatbots and voice applications. Sometimes people find creating databases particularly hard. There's tools that allow you to create scalable databases, not just for your no code applications, but also for your code applications if you want to make them for your code applications. Lastly, mobile applications. You can create both progressive web apps and native applications without coding using tools like Adalo, using tools like Bubble and Flutterflow. Some of these tools allow you to export the code. Some of them don't allow you to export the code. Some of them allow you to publish directly to the Google Play or App Store. Some of them don't. Again, if you have any questions, just let me know as we go through this. Careers and opportunities. So, what opportunities are there for you within the no code and low code space? A very popular and early stage opportunity many pursue is being a freelance developer. They develop the skills sometimes in a particular stack, maybe in different tools, like WordPress developer, Webflow developer, Bubble developer, and they advertise their products, they advertise products they built, portfolio, and they advertise their services online, and they secure contracts online. And sometimes they even go through platforms like Freelancer, like Fiverr, like Upwork. Agency. So you could start a regional agency, or you could start an agency for your city or for your country. Many people are starting agencies, just like you might have heard a software development agency that might specialize in Webflow. In the no-code space, people are doing this, specializing in mobile apps or specializing in Chrome extensions. Some are even now specializing in Web3 or artificial intelligence. You can pursue two different routes as a founder. You can pursue a bootstrap route. That means you build a company, you grow it, you use the money you're generating from that company to reinvest back into your company and continue to grow that way. Or some founders are using no code to build a version 1, version 2 of their app. They put their app or whatever product, whatever software product they're advertising out into the world, and they demonstrate traction with it to then take to VCs and raise capital from venture capitalists. You can also be a content creator and instructor. The world needs more content creators teaching people how to create software without coding. You can do what I do and do lots of different platforms, or you can just specialize in one particular platform, or you can specialize in artificial intelligence or Web3, or you can just be a hobbyist. There's lots of people that are not monetizing their skills, their no code skills, and they're just using it to solve local problems. They're using it to solve problems they care about. Now I'll be going over communities that are really helpful in the no code space. One of the communities that is extremely helpful in the no code space is On Deck. On Deck is a community of entrepreneurs and innovators of change makers all over the world. There's 100 days of no code. 100 days of no code is a challenge and community. If you search hashtag 100 days of no code on Twitter, you'll find people that are building every single day projects, developing that habit of building, but also learning no code and learning the different tools in the ecosystem. You have MakerPad, which is a great resource for courses and often free courses. I think almost all of them are free on MakerPad. Indie Hackers. Indie Hackers is both good for coders and no coders. It's great for entrepreneurs that are building, that want to ask important questions about marketing, about sales, about hiring. It really helps you build your startup, or it really helps you build out an idea. Lastly, Product Hunt. Product Hunt is probably the number one tool for anyone that builds anything to market their idea and market their products. Projects. So I'll be going over some projects I've built. Some of them are live, some of them are not live anymore. But it's just to give you an idea of the different kind of things you can build in the no-code space. So this one that we're seeing on the screen was a mobile application to find scholarships. I actually took this out the Google Play Store and the App Store, but this is something I use to demonstrate to people the power of what you can do with no code. Missing black people, I do a lot of work, a lot of my time is consumed with this. This was an automated directory of missing black people appeals. So this particular website, now we work with the police in the UK, we work with different charities in the UK, and we centralize uh, appeals to do with missing black people, and we distribute it to lots of different organizations and lots of different media companies. This was built with no code, a no code website builder called Softer. Crypto Scam Detector was for detecting scams in the crypto world. This was particularly interesting. I used the CoinMarketCap API. If you're familiar with the crypto world, you should know CoinMarketCap, and this is a relatively trusted source. And I use that API to be able to verify the current website a user's on. Web3, I took this out the Google Play Store and the App Store, but Web3 is or was a directory of resources. It had over 230 resources related to blockchain and Web3. And I'll show you one more that is live right now. So I am gonna make lots of improvements to this, but this is a review generator, so it allows you to generate product reviews. So if we type a name, let's say TikTok, and I want to say TikTok is essential, TikTok is original, TikTok is outstanding. Go ahead and type my email. And here you can see it says there's no doubt it generated a review for me and it said there's no doubt TikTok is one of the most essential, original, and outstanding apps out there. It's a social media platform that allows you to share short videos with others and incredibly addictive. The videos are funny, creative, and original, and a great way to. So it gives you a foundation to build a great review. And this was built again with no code using a tool called Bubble and using OpenAI. So we are going to use OpenAI for that. We're not going to use Bubble, but we are going to use OpenAI for the app we're going to build today. Does anybody have any questions before we actually get into building a real application? Let's see if there's any questions. Okay, so I don't think there's any questions. So we're gonna go into building an AI app today. We're gonna use OpenAI. So hopefully you're keeping up with trends going on in technology, especially when it as it relates to stuff like Web3 and AI. Over the last couple of years, there's been lots of giant leaps in innovation. And what we're going to do is actually use OpenAI. So it is free to create an account. It does cost per like API call, but it's very cheap. You can see look the price extremely cheap, which is why everybody is using this. What we're going to do is actually use their pre-trained models. So I'm not going to use a model I previously trained. We're going to use a whole new model that OpenAI has used for the examples. And here they have probably about 30 models here that you can just use and test to play around with. So let me find one that I think could be really good for us. Let's go this idea. So they have a idea generator here, and you can see an example of the prompt. So the prompt is what you give the OpenAI or any AI generator. It's kind of the input. The obviously the response or the completion is the output, and you can see how the API request is structured here. Generally, for no code, we don't need to know the exact details of all of this. But since we're all technical here, it's good to know that this is how we structure the API request if we want to send data to OpenAI. What we're going to do to begin with, before we even set up our backend database, is we're going to test this. Is this going to be a good idea for our application? So OpenAI have a playground that we can explore this in. And if I want to explore this and to see what the output looks like, all I have to do is click submit, and you can see it's going to generate. I can actually change the settings on the side. I can change the temperature, which determines how creative the output is. I can change the maximum length. We can change the amount of tokens used, which means basically the length of the output, also the length of the input. But we're going to change this prompt. So here it says brainstorm some ideas combining VR and fitness. And we're going to change this to blockchain and to see what comes up. So it comes up with blockchain ideas now. We're going to change this to artificial intelligence. And now it's coming up with AI ideas. So what we want to do is create an application that actually does this for us. So the input's going to be something like this, and the output's going to be something like this, but in a nice mobile application. What I want you to notice about this prompt is we have this sentence here, but there's two things that we want the user to change. So we want the user to select a technology. It might be blockchain, artificial intelligence, virtual reality. There's lots of different things that we can do. I believe my camera went off, but I'm still here. There's lots of different things we can do. Um, and here, fitness. So if we actually change fitness to agriculture, let's see what comes up. We asked it to brainstorm some ideas combining AI and agriculture, and it's coming up with ideas that combine AI and agriculture. So we're going to do this inside an app. What we want to do first is to create our backend database. And to create our backend database, we are actually going to head over to Google Sheets. So with this particular tool I'm using, Google Sheets is one of the main backend databases that you can use. Fortunately, with the tool we're going to use for our front end, it's limited what backend technologies we can use. But the reason I use this to teach because it's very, very easy for beginners to learn. So this will be easy for us. But if you want to use a different backend database, you would have to use a different tool. So if you're creating mobile applications and you're using something like Adala or Flutterflow, you can use Firebase, you can use Zano, which is a very, very no-code backend tool. And with Flutterflow specifically, which I'll kind of show you at the end, you can connect to a lot more different data sources. But we are going to call it Startup Idea Generator. And the first thing we want to do is add a couple headers. So we want to add the first thing we're going to have is the input, which is the technology. The second thing we're going to have is the industry. What we're going to have is the result, which is the completion. And that's what we call it. We call it a completion. So let's just make this bigger. We going to have the user. We're going to have the created date. Or we're just going to have the date. So we have that. And what we're also going to have to do, just because of how we're going to name this sheet, and we're going to name it ideas. We're going to create another sheet, and we're going to name it technology options. And you'll see why I'm doing this and how the front end works later. So I'm just going to give it a header called options. And I'm going to say artificial intelligence, virtual reality, augmented reality, blockchain. And we'll just leave it as that for now. And so what we need to do next, now we have the basis of our backend, I'm just going to give it one row. So just so we have an idea of what this looks like. So the technology is artificial intelligence. The industry is agriculture. The completion is this as a result. The user, I'm just going to give myself as a user. It's wrong. So let's do this again. The created date is 09/01/2023. We have one row that we are happy with. I'm just gonna make that all the same size. And so that's perfect. What we need to do is we need to create a front end for this. And what we're going to create our front end with is called Glide. So Glide is free to use. Does have premium features, but for what we want to do, we don't need to be able to pay. We don't need to pay for Glide for what we're going to want to do. As I go through building it with Glide, I will show you what the premium features would get you. So you want to create an account, and we're going to open Glide. Again, if anyone has any questions, just unmute yourself and feel free to ask whatever question you have. I am going to create a new project, and we're going to call this Startup Idea Generator. And we can create a page which is almost like it's almost like a web app, some kind of web application, but we want to create a progressive web application, which is like a mobile application, a hybrid between a native app and a website. This is kind of what a progressive web application is. And now it's going to ask us for a data source. We can connect Airtable, Excel, Google Sheets. Glide Tables is their native built-in content management system, but we're going to use Google Sheets. And then it's going to ask us to connect the backend, and we want to select our Startup Idea Generator backend. And so what you can see immediately is starts to bring in our data. What we can see here is in the details style by default, but we can go list, tiled. If we had dates, we can see a calendar. If we had locations, we can see a map, checklist, cards, swiping like dating apps or matchmaking apps. So immediately you can see it automatically connects to our backend and brings in the data and gives us some options. One of the first things we actually want to do is we want to create a form to take in the user's input. So I am going to do something to begin with to create a form to take in the user's input. And what I want to do is remove all of this. And I want to, I'm going to rename this screen home. And I'm going to create a home screen that's going to take us to the form. I'm not sure if everyone can still hear me. I'm going to create a home screen that's going to take us to the form that allows us to take the user's input. Before I do that, I'm going to see if there's any questions. Says people complaining that no one let them into the meeting. Yeah, Chris. So the funny thing about it is, Chris, I kind of feel what you're saying about Google Sheets as a database. The challenging thing is, especially for many businesses, many businesses are using Google Sheets and Excel to this day to manage data. And it's easier to build an app for them to interact with their data than get them to migrate their data to a quote unquote proper database. So Glide, and just to answer the next question before they just pile up, Glide can be expensive, but it just really depends. Glide is one of the easiest things to teach beginners, and which is why I teach Glide. And you'll see how easy it is for us to create an AI application. But it really depends what you're using Glide for. Depending on your use case, I might even suggest a different platform, but it really depends on what it's for. Does anybody know if there's people still outside waiting to come in? because somebody said about people not being let in. I'm not sure how many are registered. And it seems like Steve is having some maybe technical difficulties. Um, so we're gonna get to deployment of Glide to Google Play. And is is anyone having trouble getting in, Steve? Okay, okay, that's fine. That's great. We're gonna get to deploying Glide to Apple and Android slightly later when we publish our app. But yes, it can be deployed for Apple and Android, but also many other platforms can be deployed to both too. So we're going to keep going. So where we left off at was creating a home screen that we're going to link to a form that takes the user input. So I created a home screen. I give it a label. I'm just going to give it a home icon here, just so it looks a little better. And now what I can do from here is add components. And I just click this plus, so we can add components here to direct the user. So sometimes I create a really attractive home screen, similar to many apps. We're going to just create a basic welcome screen. Say welcome to the startup idea generator. Click below to get started. So I got a title here, and I'm just going to add a form button to take us to a form. So I'm going to rename it generate idea. And here now, when we click on it, it's going to take us to a form screen. The reason it shows options because it's currently mapped to this sheet, but actually we want it mapped to this sheet here. And so we are going to map it to ideas. And we're going to remove some of these fields because some of these fields, are, like the user field and the created date field, are going to be auto generated. And the completion is the result of the API request we're going to make. That's not user input. So we only want user input here. So if we go back, if we delete that, delete that, delete that, we have this user input. Industry is just a regular input, but this text entry is a drop down. So I'm going to remove this, and I'm going to find the drop down or the choice selection. And the way Glide works, and the reason we created a whole separate sheet for these choices, is because Glide sources the choices from a sheet. So here, when I select technology option, now when I click on that, it gives me some options to select. So here we have the basic form. What we do also want is we want these auto-generated values. So we want the value from the user profile. We want the user's email, and that maps to user. And we also want the date. So we want the current date and time, and that maps to created date. And so we almost have everything we need on our form. The last thing we need is here it says on submit, show notification. We don't want to show show a notification, or maybe we do, but the most important thing we want to send the data to OpenAI. And the way we're going to send the data to OpenAI is using an automation tool called Make. So I am going to pull up Make and show you Make. So Make is a tool that allows you to create all kinds of automations. You can make Telegram bots and WhatsApp bots and connect thousands of different products together. And we're going to use this. This is free. Past a certain limit, you do have to pay. I've been doing a lot and I have never reached that limit yet. What we're going to do is create a new scenario, and a new scenario is just an automation. And I am going to add my scenario here. I'm going to name my scenario Startup Idea Generator. And what I want to do, the first thing I want to do is create a webhook. And a webhook basically listens for data. I'm going to name it Startup Idea Generator Webhook. And this is listening for data right now. And so what we need to do is go back to Glide, and instead of show notification, what we actually want to do is send the data to a webhook. So we're going to trigger the webhook. We're going to create a new webhook, add the URL we just copied. We're going to name it Startup Idea Generator Webhook. We now have this webhook. So when the user clicks submit, it's going to send the data to the webhook. But what we want is to add the values that we want it to send. So we want it to send the technology, which is this drop-down menu. We want it to send the industry, which is this text input. We want it to send the user's profile email. And I'm just double checking that right. Yep. I might do this one. User profile, email. And we want it to send the current date and time. And so we're just going to test that right now. So right now, Make is listening for new data. We're going to select a drop down. We're going to say an industry. Let's just say healthcare. And we're going to send it. So it received it successfully. And actually, if I just select OK, if we run it once, it's listening for the data again. So I'm actually going to send it something again, say blockchain, and let's say healthcare again. When we send it, what we can see is it understands the data structure. So if we go to this one and we go to parameters, what we want to see is it actually sending the right data we need? So it's sending a technology blockchain, and that's a string. Perfect. It's sending completion, so that's wrong. So we need to make the adjustment there. It's sending an industry healthcare string. Correct. It's sending an email and our email address. So right now, the date is mapped to completion, which we don't want. We want the date mapped to here. The date is not actually mapped to completion, but it's titled, labeled as completion, which will be confusing. And we're going to say created date. We're going to try one more time, and we're going to ask it to redetermine the structure. Blockchain, and we're going to say sports. It received it, and let's see if sports. So here we'll take a look. So it should have fixed this time. So okay, we have the created date now. So we have everything we need here. So that's perfect. If we actually go to our backend database, it's actually adding stuff to our backend database too. But obviously it has no completion. And this is what we need. But Make is going to fix this for us and plug in any gaps that is not there. The way we actually send this to OpenAI, if you remember OpenAI, if we go back, way we send it to this service here is by connecting it and finding the OpenAI module. And you can do different things. You can do image generation if you wanted to do image generation. There's lots of different things you can do here. But we are going to create a completion. I'm already connected my OpenAI account, but you would need to use your API key to connect your OpenAI account. You select a model, and now you have a prompt. So this is the very, very important part. If we go back to the playground where we were, we can see that this was the prompt. But here we have a string here, we have a variable here, we have a string again, and we have a variable. So we have to recreate this in make. So if we go back, we can add the string, but we want the variable from the user input. So all we have to do is go to the webhook and the data that's sent to the webhook. And we want to grab the technology value. So that's our variable. And then we had another string that said and then we want to get the industry value, and then we have that there. Max token we want to use is 200, and we can actually leave everything else blank. And if we can actually test this. So to test it, we can just right click and we can just run this module. We don't have to test the whole process. And we can give it a technology value, blockchain, and we can give this a value, farming, and we can send the data directly to OpenAI. And what we're seeing is OpenAI is processing, loading, and it's finished. And so what we see, if we go to our output, we can see under choices and the one, we can see it's generated our output. So we wanted blockchain startup ideas for that's blockchain focused in the farming industry, and it's given us blockchain based farmer cooperative, smart farming, developing a blockchain smart farming platform, a blockchain secure data login, tracking farm activities, automated contracts and payments, crowdfunding for farms using blockchain. So those are not actually too bad ideas. They're okay. So what we need now is to send that to our backend database. All we have to do is connect Google Sheets. And we're connecting Google Sheets, but just to show you, I believe you can connect it to Firebase. I believe they have Firebase here. So they have cloud messaging, but they have Firestore. So when you're using Firebase, you would store your data in Firestore. You can send it to Firestore. You could send it to AWS S3. There's lots of different places you can send it. You can even make a HTTP request, and you can even send it wherever you wanted as long as you had an endpoint. We're going to send it to Google Sheets, and we're going to add a row, and we just need to connect it. We need to connect our spreadsheet, and our spreadsheet is called Startup Idea Generator. Our sheet name is called Ideas. It contains headers. So it's going to pick up that we have some headers. And all I need to do now is just map the different values. So we know the technology here is this from our webhook. The industry is this from our webhook. The completion is actually from OpenAI. So we're going to go back and map our completion here. The user ID is from our initial webhook. The created date is from our initial webhook. So it's the value. And all I'm going to do is select OK. And what we're going to see now is if I do this, I actually have to run this. So now it's waiting to listen for new data. And if I go to generate ideas, I select a technology. I can say farming again, or let's say space tech. Sent it. So you can see it's received. It's now working on the AI generations, and it should have sent it to Google Sheets. So here we can see it's sent it to Google Sheets and it sent the ideas. What we can see here, if I just make this a little bit larger, I asked it for virtual reality space tech ideas, and it said a virtual reality platform to help astronauts navigate deep space, a simulator for tourists that want to explore the moon before a physical mission is launched. So some really good ideas. And what we need now is to actually display this. So we have a homepage, we have a form, but we want to see the results. And what we're going to do is create a page to see the results. So we do have another page here, and these pages are broken into tabs. So we can just add them and reduce them as many as we want. But what we're going to go to is this technology options tab. And what we want is not technology options. We want to map it to the ideas sheet. And we can customize this from here. So what I want to do is I kind of like this list breakdown, but you can make this as tiles. You can make this as cards. Usually I choose cards, but let's just stick with lists for now. I'm going to edit this because we don't actually have an image. So I can remove that. And what we have here is the inputs from the user. So we could do something interesting in our backend database. And let's see if we can do it on our front end. No. What we could do in our backend database is we could add another column for the entire prompt. If you can see here to show the entire prompt, brainstorm ideas combining artificial intelligence and agriculture. We could add another column that creates the string for the entire prompt and then displays the respective string here. We're not going to do that right now because I think you kind of understand the point. And what we have here is it shows the title, it shows the details. And when you click on it, you can actually see the results. So this is cool. I am going to create another column because this is a little bit confusing without that prompt column. So I'm going to create another column called prompts. And you can do it in multiple different ways. So you could either add a formula here for any new row that's added, it's automatically creating the prompt in the backend database. But I think I'm going to try to do it here. I am going to ask it to refresh because I added a new column. Okay, we can see prompts here. And these are in the wrong place now. Okay, so let's just remove these completely and put them in the right places. But what I'm going to do is add the string here. So if I go back and just grab parts of my string, combining the technology and do I have the industry? Here, technology, I use the value. Industry, I use the value. Completion, that is coming from here. And the user is coming from here. So this time when I actually send it, what you should see, I'm going to go, and it automatically detects there's new columns. So what I'm going to do is just do it again, just to show you what it looks like. So we're going to ask for virtual reality as ideas in the fintech industry. And it's processing. And it's sent it. So you can see here, it's brainstorms ideas in the fintech industry. And what I'm actually going to do is just delete these ones. If we delete column. So I deleted these ones, and now it has the idea. So when I actually go back to my front end, and if I refresh this, so it just updates. So we have to give that a second or two to update. But when it does update, it will actually remove a lot of this data. Let's see. It will remove a lot of this data, and also it will understand that I have this prompts column. And so what we're going to do while that is processing, we're going to change this tab to be called output or results maybe. We're going to add a list icon. I just want to I want my database to refresh. Okay, so that's refreshed. If I go back and go to my list, okay, perfect. So now we have this. This is more realistic. And what I'm going to do is change the title to the prompt. I am going to remove the image. I'm going to remove the details. And maybe I could allow text wrapping. So now you can see the whole prompt. And perfect. This is perfect. This is exactly what we want. The action is set to show the detail screen. That's perfect. That's what we want too. So when we click on it, we will be able to see the details that we can see in our backend database. What we want to do on this detail screen, or slightly before we get to that detail screen, right here we have this icon so users can add a form directly, or they can add data directly to our backend database. We don't want that because we want everything to come through Make in order to process the AI generations. So we're going to reduce them actually being able to do that right there. And now what we want to do when we go here is we want to customize this screen. And the way we customize this screen is through the components on the left. So what we can do, we can actually we will remove the user because only the currently, or in a minute, the current user will only be able to see their own data. We want to rearrange this, and I might put my prompt here. I have my completion, but I want to change. I think I might keep it as it is, but I want to add a title that basically says result. So all I'm going to do is add some text, put it there, and just put some custom text that says results. I maybe want to put a space between this top information and the bottom information. So I'm going to put a separator. I am not going to show the line divider, and I'm going to make it large, or maybe medium. So now there's a space between them. And maybe I'm going to change this top part and what I'm going to put is I'm just finding the right component to add. I think it's action text. So now you have the technology that's displaying, the industry that's displaying, the prompt, and I'll put the prompt first. You have the prompt, the technology, the industry, the creator date, and you have the result. Or let's change the result to startup ideas. There's lots of interesting things we could do from here. We could add images and audio, we could add maps, we could add charts, and there's lots of really interesting things we could do from here. We can have buttons that trigger us to be able to send that to other places. So I think this is really, really interesting that we have here. The last thing we're going to do is the users can edit this directly, which we'll edit in our backend database, and we want to stop them doing that. We want to also, right now, because we haven't filtered these results, all users can see all results, which we don't want. We want to be able to filter them. So to filter them, all we have to do is click on the list, go to options. We want to add a filter, and we want to filter by the user, and it has to be the signed in user. That's how easy it is to filter data just to show the user their own data. We have a search bar, that's fine. We want to sort the data. We want to sort it not necessarily by sheet order, by created date, and the newest to oldest. You could also group it, so that will be interesting to do too. So we could group data by, let's say, the technology or the industry. So let's just group it by the technology. So if we do another one and we say technology, and we're going to say artificial intelligence in the, I don't know, what industry should I choose? Let's say photography industry. We're just going to activate this so it's listening. And then you see it's processing. It's added to our database. And we can see here, but if we go to our front end, we can also see artificial intelligence. And so there is a slight error that's happened here. It is there, and we're not going to fix it in this tutorial, but we are going to hide it. So there is a black entry, and this entry actually, one, doesn't have a prompt, and two, doesn't have a completion. So what we're also going to do is add another filter, and we're going to filter and say the completion is not empty. So it's only going to show where the completion is actually complete. So if there's ever an error in adding an AI generated result, it's not going to display here. So we have the basis of our AI app that generates startup ideas. And what we're going to do now is publish. Before we publish, I'm just going to see if there's any questions. The answer is... So I'm just going back. One of the reasons you can actually call it directly from Glide, but one of the reasons I actually don't call it from Glide, because often I do a lot of different data manipulations in Glide before I actually store it in my backend database. I have another project where you can query reports. The user has to select what report they want to create, and actually I have lots of different pathways depending on what report they select. So there's a lot of flexibility with Make, and it allows me to make a lot of different data manipulations that are really, really easy that I couldn't do in Glide alone. You don't have to sign up your Google account in Make. But if you want to add here, I connect to Google Sheets. If I want to, I have to sign up here. If I want to add, if I want to give permissions to Make to add directly to my Google Sheets, I have to sign up with that Google account. But I don't need to use my Google account to sign up to Make generally. But whatever service you use, you're going to have to add your API keys. So I add in my API keys to connect my OpenAI account here. So I think those are all the questions. So what we have here is we're getting ready to publish now. So what we have to do is go to settings. We make some adjustments to the icon. So let's think. What is my startup? So let's put a rocket ship. Start idea generator. And I'm going to put a description. Generate startup ideas with artificial intelligence. And I can change the appearance. So I kind of like this one, but you can also change the color. Let's go with that color. So here's a premium feature right now, and you will see when we actually publish this on laptop and on iPads. This is going to look like a mobile application. It's not going to look like an application responsive to iPads and laptops. And that's where the Pro version will come in. The Pro version will allow you to enable tablet and desktop mode, and it adapts it for tablet and desktop mode. We're going to allow people to sign in public with email. They're going to have to sign in with their email address, and we need their email address if we're going to associate what their ideas to a user account. We're going to allow them to sign in with their Google account. I'm going to leave that like that. So here, the sign-in screen, another premium feature. If we wanted to add our logo here, and if we wanted to add a background, we would have to have the Pro version. Otherwise, it stays like this. If we want to remove Made with Glide, we would have to have the Pro version. Now we're going to publish, and I'm going to call this start. And here's another premium feature. If you wanted to add a custom domain, you would have to have a pro account to add a custom domain. And so we're going to publish now. And you will be able to see. Yeah. Do you have a question? Can you, Chris, can you go on mute, please? Steve, can you put him on mute? I don't have permissions. Chris. Steve, are you there? I don't have admin's permissions to put him on mute or remove him. Hello, 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 Chris. Oh my God. Steve, are you there? I don't know how to contact this guy to tell me. Okay, I'm gonna stop presenting and message him. Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna start sharing again so we can finish this up. So we have our application, and this is what it looks like on desktop if we don't have the pro version. I'm going to sign in with my Google account. I want to know I don't this is not on right now. So my backend isn't on. So I'm gonna say changes, and I'm actually going to turn this on. One of the reasons I don't leave it on because sometimes I have projects where people are continuously using it, and it does add up. Um, it does add up if I don't monitor it or control it. And so right now, if you visit this URL, and I'll drop the URL in the chat, you can actually generate ideas. Let's say augmented reality, and let's say what industry. Both. We're going to submit, and it should take a second. So we can see it's processing, it processed, and we should be able to see if we go to results, maybe refresh that. I'm not sure if I'm having internet issues, but it's taking. Okay, it's refreshing now. Let's just double check because I don't think it added golf. It added golf. Okay, so it's given me golf ideas, and it's going to have to take a minute or two to add to my Glide application. But we have our fintech, or I say fintech, because I'm looking at fintech. We have our AI application that actually generates startup ideas um, without coding. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, yeah. Someone asked, can I come? So I was asked to go over how to deploy to the Google Play and the App Store. You would, for Glide specifically, you would have to use a tool similar to this. It can be this tool, it can be any tool similar to this, and it allows you to convert any responsive website into a native mobile app. So this is how you would do Glide specifically, and it gives you the build file that you would submit to the Google Play Store or the Google Play console or the App Store. But with other tools, you can actually deploy directly from that tool. So I often use Adalo. There's dating apps I made with Adalo that are in the Google Play Store now. Um, that they allow you to deploy directly to the Google Play Store and the App Store. You just have to share your keys. If I just show you what that looks like, if I can find it. So this is one of the dating applications that I created. Um, where you see publish, it gives you an option under Android app. It creates the builds for me. All I have to do is trigger a new build. It creates the build and submits it to the Google Play Store. There's another tool where you can do a similar thing. This tool actually does have an IDE embedded in it too, but Flutterflow is probably the tool that has the most flexibility in terms of no-code native applications. This allows you to import code. It allows you to export code. It allows you to submit it directly to the Google Play Store and the App Store, and it has an internal IDE as well. There's another tool, especially since this is predominantly a Google community. Um, there's another tool that's interesting. This is a Google product, so it's AppSheet. It's interesting for many businesses. Many businesses are using this. If you're creating B2C apps, probably not the best thing. But if you're working with businesses that are already using Google products in Google's ecosystem, this is great. This is a great if you want to do consulting or if you want to do freelance with businesses to help them improve their processes. Maybe they have people in the field and you want to give the people in the field an app to add data directly to the database. This is probably what you would use. I would like to give a special mention to some other tools that I think are really cool. Buildbox. This is a no-code game maker. I think a lot of you will be really, really good at this. Um, and it allows you to make games without coding. Maybe in the background, I'll just load a project just to show you what it looks like. If I can find it. Let's see. And while that loads, I'll answer any questions. Someone said, Steve said there's, let's see, I think this link works. It should work. Yeah, the link works. Yeah, you can deploy for free. I just deploy for free, so I don't actually have a premium Glide account, which is also why, if I can find it, it's at a subdomain here. It's at the Glide subdomain. You cannot deploy to the Google Play Store and App Store for free. You do need that third party service. Um, so let's see if this is loaded. Okay, this is BuildBox. This is what I think is probably the best. It's not the easiest, but it's the best no code game maker. And if I actually go to templates, I could show you something really cool. It's as easy as this. There's lots of templates you can buy. There's templates that you can. There's free templates that you can build upon. But obviously here, and again, this is not the easiest one to use. There's ones easier that I have created tutorials for. But if we actually click play, and this might be a bit loud if the music plays, but you can see automatically we got a start screen. So immediately you can create a game. You saw that game there. If I actually move this to the other side, if I was to click play again, you will see that as now. I actually have to publish it, but you can it's as easy as that. You can change the coins, you can change the assets. Especially if you're really getting started into game development, it's a great tool to use. So it says some people are getting 404 errors. That shouldn't be the case. So I'm clicking on it too, and it's okay for me. Let's see if I can copy this whole thing maybe. So yeah, it should be fine. It's loading for me. It should be loading for you as well. Unless it's a local difficulty. Does anybody have any questions? And it can be on no code broadly. It doesn't necessarily have to be on AI. Um, there's lots of tools in blockchain space and lots of different spaces. It just depends on where your interest is. Does anybody have any questions? So I will share the recording link. I uploaded the recording link to my YouTube. I'm not sure if I'm still sharing. Okay, I'll be uploading the recording link to my YouTube. So on my YouTube channel, there are lots of tools. You see some of the workshops with other universities, but like how to integrate GPT-3 with WhatsApp, how to generate code with ChatGPT, how to integrate GPT-3 with Siri. I've been doing a lot of AI content recently, but Chrome extensions, websites, lots of different interesting content. And if there's something that's not there, you can see I have no code AI NFT generators. If there's something that's not there that you want to see, just let me know and I will make it for you. But there's also other tools. So MakerPad, let's see. MakerPad.co is a resource. They have lots of job boards, marketing, marketplaces, membership, um, mobile apps. Probably not as structured as I have it, but they still have a lot of good resources here.